Hello, darlings, and welcome to RIP with Lindsay, presented by Chicken Wrap Entertainment and edited by my magnificent editor, Spote, of Face Off Visuals. Please, thank you for being here, but if you are here, it means you must like the show at least a little, and it would mean the world to us if you would drop a comment below, like, subscribe, share to a friend. Any or all of those things really helps us grow this channel and bring you more stories just like this one. In today's story, we're going into the deep, dark heart of Texas, small town America, for a story so chilling, it will surely never be forgotten. Welcome to RIP. There are places in America where silence feels heavy, places where every porch light flickers like a warning, and the wind carries whispers that never fade. Tonight, darlings, we travel to Colorado City, Texas, a town of oil fields, church picnics, and the unspeakable disappearance of a bright-eyed 13-year-old girl. Her name was Haley Dunn, and when she vanished from her home just after Christmas in 2010, a small town unraveled at the seams. And every person who thought they knew her family would soon learn that monsters don't just live in nightmares. Sometimes they share your dinner table. Part 1. A town like any other. It's the kind of place that gets called quiet in newspaper profiles. A West Texas town of wind-beaten rooftops, oil rigs, and the hum of trains that seem to go everywhere but here. The Dunns lived in a single-story home at the edge of Colorado City's neighborhoods, where the yards turn to open prairie and the night sky spills over like black glass. Haley was a bright, restless girl. She played volleyball, cheered for the local middle school team, watched Twilight movies, and scribbled in notebooks about becoming a veterinarian. Her friends called her funny, spunky, loyal. Her teachers called her determined. And her mother, Billy, said she was her whole world. But that world was already shifting. You see, Billy had a new boyfriend, Sean Adkins, who'd moved in with them earlier that year. And while some of Billy's friends thought he was harmless, others whispered that something about him was sort of off. He was quiet, brooding, the kind of man who avoided small talk and stayed up late at night staring at screens. And on that cold December morning, Haley woke up to find him there, the last person known to see her alive. Part 2, the missing girl. Sean Adkins told police that Haley left around lunchtime to go to her best friend's house. He said she packed a bag and was supposed to spend the night. But when investigators reached the friend's family, they were confused. Haley had never told them she was coming. Her mother came home later that afternoon to a quiet house, a little too quiet. Haley's bedroom looked undisturbed. Her phone charger was still plugged into the wall. Her makeup, her toothbrush, all untouched. Billy called the family friend, and then another, and then another, and nothing. When the sun set that night, Colorado City transformed into a search grid. Neighbors formed lines, sweeping fields with flashlights. Police and parents held their own daughters a little tighter. And that's when the whispers began. People said they'd seen Sean's white Chevy parked in odd places that day, that he'd left work unexpectedly, that something about his calm demeanor wasn't right. And as the hours bled into days, the story changed again and again. Part 3, the man with far too many stories. So Sean Adkins, again, the boyfriend of the mother of the missing girl, Haley, he wasn't really new to deception. But police weren't really ready for how tangled his web of lies would become. He first told detectives that he was at work all day, but that was a lie. He'd been fired that morning for insubordination. He stormed out of the plant furious and had gone home, allegedly. He said Haley left for her friend's house while he was watching TV. Then he said he went to see his mother. Then he claimed he drove to Big Spring, 40 miles away, to visit his father. Each story contradicted the next. Investigators checked his phone records, and they didn't match at all. They checked his car mileage. That also didn't match. And then they searched his home computer. And what they found was chilling. Thousands and thousands of disturbing images, violent pornographic material, fetish drawings involving strangulation and mutilation, and deep in one folder, a document titled SD and BD. Sean Adkins and Billy Dunn? In essence, the contents were a grotesque fantasy script involving domination and death. When police confronted him, his face barely moved. He shrugged. He said, "Oh, it was all just stories." But there was more. During questioning, Adkins suddenly blurted out, "She's dead! She's dead somewhere out in the desert." And when the detective leaned in and asked how he knew that, he simply smiled. But I wonder, as our listeners and viewers, what you think. Do you imagine that if someone has sort of a morose interest in death, pain, mutilation, rape fantasies, domination fantasies, like where's the line? Where's the line that begins to suggest that someone is maybe capable of this type of an act? So let me know what you think. I'm so curious, but let's get back to the story. We're now going to address part 4, which is a mother's denial. For the world at large, basically, Sean Adkins had become the prime suspect. But for Billy Dunn, his girlfriend, and the mother of Haley, he basically remained her partner. She defended him on national television. She told Nancy Grace that people were unfairly targeting him. She insisted resolutely that he'd never hurt Haley. When police searched that house again, they found a bloody towel. The DNA was partially degraded, but possibly still Haley's. Even with this evidence coming to light, Billy brushed it off as old laundry. And when Adkins failed a polygraph, she said the stress made the results meaningless. Detectives suspected Billy knew more than she was willing to admit. That in essence, she was protecting Adkins, or at least protecting the version of her life that didn't collapse under scrutiny. At one point, she was arrested for lying to police about his whereabouts, claiming he wasn't in her home when he was literally hiding inside. But despite the public suspicion, no evidence directly tied her to Haley's death. Part 5. The long wait. The search for Haley stretched all the way through 2011 and 2012. Posters faded in windows. Candlelight vigils grew smaller. Leads went absolutely nowhere. The FBI joined the hunt, and volunteers combed the back roads, the oil-filled roads that twist and turn through the brush line like veins. One local said, "You start to realize how many places a person can disappear out here." And for 2 long years, the desert held its secret. Then, in March 2013, it finally spoke. A hiker in neighboring Scurry County stumbled across a patch of bones and tattered clothing. Nearby, a pink shoe. The remains were sent for DNA testing, and when the results came back, the entire community froze. It was Haley. Part 6. Forensics and the subsequent fallout. Her remains were incomplete, scattered by time and weather. The medical examiner concluded she'd been the victim of homicidal violence, but far too much had been lost to determine exactly how she died. Still, the investigators pressed forward. They mapped the site, analyzed soil samples, reconstructed timelines, and one finding made their blood run completely cold. Sean Adkins' cell phone had pinged within a mile of that remote area on the very day Haley disappeared. Coincidence or digital confession? Naturally, he denied everything, claiming he'd simply driven through that part of the desert while clearing his head. Let's take a pause here for a moment and imagine that this is the day that your stepdaughter has gone missing. I would think that your very first and preeminent intention would be searching for her, not driving around some remote location in the next county over in an effort to clear your head. But I digress. Let's move on. In 2021, a decade after the murder, prosecutors finally indicted him for Haley's death. But within a year, the charges were dismissed. After all, there was no new DNA, no smoking gun, only whispers, ghosts, and rumors. Part 7. The Ghosts Left Behind. Billy Dunn, Haley's mother, left Colorado City soon after. She gave a few interviews, quiet, tearful ones, where she said she'd lost everything, that she missed her daughter, that she still loved Sean once, before everything. But there's something in her voice, that flicker of knowing, that makes some listeners pause. The house was eventually sold, Haley's room dismantled, and the town, desperate to heal, tucked the story away like a scar they'd rather not trace. Yet every December, when the cold wind rolls across West Texas and the Christmas lights go up, people inevitably remember. They remember the flyers that once fluttered on telephone poles, and the search parties that stretched across those endless miles of dirt road, and the mother who stood beside a man everyone else saw as a monster in light of her missing daughter. Part 8. Theories and Truths. So the first theory is that Sean Adkins acted alone. He lost his job that morning, argued with Haley, and perhaps snapped. The forensic trail, the phone pings, the disturbing files found on his computer, his own words and behavior during police interviews all point toward him. But in a court of law, probably isn't proof. Theory 2. Billy was complicit. Did she help cover this up? Or did she simply refuse to believe it happened under her roof? Her lies to police suggest fear, but fear of what? Theory 3. A stranger abduction. A rare theory, but one that persists. Perhaps there was a predator along I-20, a drifter who spotted an opportunity. Yet no other suspect has ever emerged. No matching DNA, no parallel crimes. Each explanation feels both possible and incomplete. Haley's story, like her scattered remains, will really never be whole. When you peel back the layers of a crime like this, you find the parts that aren't on police reports. The quiet moments. The ones where a mother defends a man instead of her own child. The ones where neighbors stop asking questions because it's easier to pretend evil doesn't live on their street. Haley was 13. She had a darling heart-shaped face, braces, and a laugh that cracked mid-giggle. She never even made it to high school. Somewhere out there, someone still knows what happened to Haley and why. Now, darlings, this is where you come in. I want you to play detective with me. Right now, after this episode, go on your socials, tell me what you think happened, comment below, share this with a friend or someone you know that lives in Texas. Perhaps they have information on this case that we didn't cover here. Do you believe Sean Adkins acted alone? Do you think Billie Jean Dunn knew more than she said? Do you think she was covering up for her? Or do you see a detail that you think everyone else missed? Every week, I'll feature one of your theories on my very next episode. Because in this House of Shadows, we solve things together. And if you know something, anything about Haley's case, please contact the Texas Department of Public Safety or the Scurry County Sheriff's Office. You could be the one who brings the truth back into the light. And what a beautiful legacy that would really be. You know, when a life just ends too soon, it doesn't just vanish. It echoes around in the chambers of the minds of the people that they touched. Through the streets, the schools, the gossip, and even the silence. Through every mother who still checks her child's bedroom door twice before turning off the light. Haley Dunn's story is more than a crime. It's a caution whispered on the wind. That sometimes monsters aren't in the dark at all. They're standing right behind you, smiling for the family photo. Sleep softly, darlings, but keep one eye open, because justice, like the truth, never really rests. And I hope you'll join us next week for another unsolved murder case. And until then, rest in peace.